the 84 districts affected by drought. We'll give you the details at a later stage.
And also the House has considered 5 questions for oral answer, understanding Order 80, and 1 question which was supposed to be asked by Lunte, Member of Parliament, Mr. Mutoto Kafuaya, lapsed at the time this question came up for consideration. The member wasn't in his seat. So we still have members of Parliament yet to debate the motion of thanks. The Republican president, like my colleague mentioned, last week Friday, the Republican president did address Parliament during the official opening of the 4th session of the 14th Assembly. Well, now, cross over to the floor of the House for resumption of business.
Mr. Speaker. Speaker.
Well, it seems the bells are ringing and a quorum is yet to be constituted. It is a requirement that 1/3 of the number of members of Parliament should be present for business to resume, and in this case, a quorum is yet to be constituted of that 1/3.
And later on business resumed, Madam First Deputy Speaker did make announcements, and the first announcement did recognize in the presence the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Chadley School in Lusaka District, and also recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Crowned Eagle School in Lusaka District. The other recognition was of pupils and teachers from Delai Secondary School in Chelanga District, and also recognize the presence in the public gallery of youth politicians from Sweden, representatives from the UNICEF Zambia Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, Global Fund, and representatives of various youth organizations in Zambia. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam First Deputy Speaker did warmly welcome the visitors to the National Assembly of Zambia.
And Madam Speaker also announced to the House that the National Assembly of Zambia had established the Zambia Parliamentary Caucus on Post-Legislative Scrutiny, ZPC-PLS, a voluntary group consisting of members of Parliament who are passionate about the implementation and effectiveness of legislation following its enactment. The caucus is therefore set to be launched on Thursday, 19 September 2024 in the amphitheatre at Parliament buildings at 10 hours, and in this regard, all honourable members of Parliament are encouraged to attend the event. And she also reminded the members of Parliament that the attendance was going to be on a voluntary basis.
The other announcement that Madam Speaker made was to inform the House that the National Assembly is in the process of producing a legislative chart bearing photographs of all members of Parliament of the 13th National Assembly. In this regard, an officer from the Public and International Relations Department has been stationed at the main reception of Parliament building from today, Wednesday 10th to Friday, 20th September 2024 to take photographs of all members of Parliament. And she further urged honourable members to ensure their photographs are taken within the stipulated period.
Yes, and there were 6 questions in total on today's order paper, but only 5 have been considered. 1 question lapsed because the Member of Parliament who was supposed to pose this question was not in the House at the time the question came for consideration. So 5 have been considered.
When business was suspended, the House was considering the President's address. That the thanks of this Assembly be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in the President's address, and the mover of this motion is Ms. Hudson Mabeta, who is Kankoyo, Member of Parliament. We now cross over to the floor of the House.
Order. When business was suspended, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honourable Member for Kankoyo that the thanks of this Assembly be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in His Excellency's President's address, and the Honorable Member for Chavuma was debating. May the Honorable Member continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before our break, I was merely saying that at the time when we were in opposition, when we offered criticism to the government then, we compared with what was happening in SADC countries and what was prevailing in our own country. Mr. Speaker, allow me to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency, President Hakainde Hichilema, that despite the challenges SADC countries are facing, and indeed Africa, His Excellency has managed, together with his team, to keep the economy moving. Had it been in the other regime, Mr. Speaker, today, the economy of this country was going to be shut down. But because we have assembled brains of men and women, we are able to give food for work to the citizens of this republic. Despite the challenges, Mr. Speaker, we have increased social cash transfer and citizens are receiving this money. Despite the challenges, Mr. Speaker, you have not heard civil servants from any ministry who have complained of not receiving their salaries. We want to thank Dr. Hakainde Hichilema for standing his words to keep the economy of this republic. Mr. Speaker, the people of Zambia have seen the dual carriageway from Lusaka into the Copper Belt. Allow me to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to talk to the Minister of Infrastructure that engineers should not disappoint the people of Zambia. Many are the times we saw roads being done under the previous regime. 2 years down the line, roads start cracking. We don't want to see this in the new Dawn government. Allow me to make this emphasis to the engineers in the Republic of Zambia to help the Republic, because most of the debt African countries are having is arising from money we get to build our roads. Mr. Speaker, every member of Parliament, both from the left and from the right, will agree with me that the current constitution needs amendments. It is for the good of both in the ruling party and in the opposition. Imagine, Honorable Chisopa, after filing in nominations, 15 days down the line, I withdraw for mentioning his name. Imagine, honorable colleagues, 15 days after filing in nominations as Member of Parliament, then somebody who did not even have substance to stand as a Member of Parliament just filed in to cause havoc withdraws. Then you are told the election in your constituency is not going ahead because there's this lacuna in the constitution. So it is upon us, members of Parliament, both from the left and from the right, to take keen interest, as requested by His Excellency, that we amend the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the people of Chavuma know that working with His Excellency, President Hakainde Hichilema, Chavuma today is not the same. Chavuma has changed. Go to every ward, the 15 wards in Chavuma. People are able to see development. The people of Chavuma did not vote for a joker. They voted for a strong man in me standing here, working together with Dr. Hakainde Hichilema to develop the welfare of Chavuma and taking advantage of President Hakainde's address to this House. I want to appeal to the people of Zambia to support President Hakainde Hichilema He means well for this republic. Zambia is no longer the same. Zambia is no longer the same. We need to support Dr. Hakainde Hichilema because he has offered what he promised the people of Zambia. And there's nothing which we have seen arising from administrative errors to which we can say the president has made an error. I request the House, Mr. Speaker, both from the left and right, to support Mr. President. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Namwala.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Speaker, for according me this opportunity to add 2 or 3 sentences to the motion which is on the floor of this House now. Mr. Speaker, we want to thank the President for making it almost a habit that whenever he's here, the first 3 things that he does not miss is the word of unity, love, and hard work. He has always done that. I think this alone has given a couple of members of Parliament a zeal to ensure that in whatever we do, we have to ensure that we unite, we get united, we have to work towards attaining the goals, and once we do that, we have to maintain the attitude of love, and by so doing, this country, Mr. Speaker, the issues that we saw before of divisions will never be there. This is a country, Mr. Speaker, which was purely divided on political affiliation or on ethnicity. Now, with the coming of this trend which the President has exhibited, we all now realize that we have a duty to ensure that we work together towards ensuring that our economy gets back to where it's supposed to be. The President also talked about the issues of good governance. Mr. Speaker, we are aware that Zambia has written laws, which is the Constitution, and it's from those laws that citizens of this country are actually now treated to what we never saw before. Those are issues of good governance or the tenets of good governance. The President talked about the issue of human rights, rule of law, decentralization, transparency, and accountability. Of course, among others that were left out was capacity building, which we are seeing that the President now and the citizens are able now to enjoy those tenets wherever they are. Mr. Speaker, the issues of movement, rights or freedoms of movement and association never existed before, in that the people who were given the mandate to superintend of the over the national affairs really made sure that only those who are affiliated or who supported them will enjoy these rights. But we are lucky that the head of state has continued putting an emphasis that the citizens of this country ought to be treated equally. The national resources ought to be shared equally. Not only that, Mr. Speaker, the element of decentralization. We are all aware that this element or this tenet, previous governments never saw it inevitable to implement it, but bravely, the new Dawn government implemented this. What is it that we are seeing out of this decentralization? Mr. Speaker, the people from our own constituencies are able now to make decisions on what they feel or want done in their constituencies. And this is what we have been crying all these years. The decentralization, Mr. Speaker, went with it a concept and an element of CDF, which now the people from the rural setup, people from the urban, people in all constituencies, through the WDCs to the constituent development committees, are able to choose on what they want done in their areas. The issue of education, the President also continued to put or place an emphasis that citizens should all not allow children, those who are supposed to get to school, to sit home, because they have ensured that the free education which they have offered all corners of this country, the children of this country ought to enjoy. Not only free education, Mr. Speaker, the President has also placed an emphasis on the issue of feeding program. We have heard that so far we have about 70 districts, of the 70 districts, some schools have started, or they are increasing numbers of schools which are supposed to enjoy the feeding program. This will give courage, motivate, and the impetus to our children that whenever they get to school, they know at the end of the day they'll have a meal that will enable them to walk kilometers back to their homes. Apart from that, Mr. Speaker, the issue of CDF, we are able now to construct the schools, meaning we have shortened the distances. People used to walk before 10 kilometers and to receive lessons under the trees. We are able now to have our children in classes within the reasonable distances, and not only that, we have teachers now who are able to attend to our children and teach them exactly what's supposed to be taught to them. Apart from that, Mr. Speaker, the issues of skills. We have now those who dropped out of school and those who were unfortunate because their parents were unable to actually send them to school to get back for skills. And we have seen that our youths, 3/4 of them, Mr. Speaker, have acquired these skills and are able now to live on their own because of what they are getting, which they never got before, because of maybe the parents were unable to take them to school or because they just didn't see sense at that time to get to school. Mr. Speaker, still on the issue of education, the President has placed another emphasis that we are likely to have more teachers this year. That, Mr. Speaker, alone will help our constituencies, our districts, our schools, our children to have all what they could have wanted to have before. Now the opportunity is given to them. So pure pupils or our children will be able now to debate and to compete using the grey matter to get where they want to get. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I submit.
Any further debate? Let's debate. Any further debate? We are not going today if you're not indicating. And I would tell the security officers to lock the doors. Because we are here, we are using taxpayers' money. So as such, we have to justify. So we are not knocking off today. I'm not adjourning. The acting leader of government business, the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
As no notice of an item for debate on the motion of adjournment of the House has been received, I put a question. The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate, any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
On the floor of the House, and business resumed at 14:30. There were about 6 announcements that Madam First Deputy Speaker made earlier in the day.
Yes, in the first announcement, the Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Chadley House School in Lusaka. She also recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Crowned Eagles in Lusaka district, and also in the public galleries this afternoon were pupils and teachers from Lilai Secondary School in Chilanga district. And Madam Speaker also recognized in the public gallery of youth politicians from Sweden, representatives from UNICEF Zambia, Vaccine Alliance Gavi, Global Fund, and representatives of various youth organizations in Zambia. And on behalf of the National Assembly, she welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
The other announcement that Madam First Deputy Speaker made was to inform the House that the National Assembly of Zambia has established the Zambia Parliamentary Caucus on Post-Legislative Scrutiny, ZPC PLS, This is a voluntary group consisting of members of parliament who are passionate about the implementation and effectiveness of legislation following its enactment. The caucus is therefore set to be launched tomorrow, Thursday, 19th September 2024, in the amphitheatre at Parliament buildings at 10 hours. In this regard, Madam Speaker did say that members of Parliament are encouraged to attend the event, and she did say that this meeting attendance will be on voluntary basis.
Yes, in the other announcement, the Honourable Madam Speaker informed the House that the National Assembly is in the process of producing a legislative chart bearing photographs of all Honourable Members of Parliament of the 13th National Assembly. And in this regard, an officer from the Public and International Relations Department will be stationed at the main reception of Parliament buildings from today, Wednesday, 18th to Friday, 20th September 2024, to take photographs of all Members of Parliament. She urged all Honourable Members of Parliament to ensure that photographs are taken within the stipulated period. So those are the announcements on the floor of the House for today.
And if you joined us later during the proceedings of today's business, Madam First Deputy Speaker did permit two ministers to render two ministerial statements. The first was the Minister of Community Development and Social Services, and this was on the progress made in the implementation of the Emergency Cash Transfer Program. And in this regard, it was the acting minister, this is Honorable Brenda Tambatamba, who rendered this ministerial statement. And she did begin by saying that following the declaration of drought as a national disaster by the Republican President, Ms. Hakainde Hichilema, the government has been implementing various drought response intervention. It did say that through the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, government has made some significant progress on expanding coverage of the social cash transfer program to include households affected by droughts in the 84 districts.
The minister further reported to the House that as at June 2024, it had disbursed funds amounting to 1.8 billion kwacha to facilitate the payment of emergency cash transfers to beneficiaries at a transfer value of 400 kwacha per month for households that are not under the regular social cash transfer program, and a top-up of 200 kwacha for beneficiaries under the regular social cash transfer program. And she said that the first cycle of the payment covering the months of May, June had been made to 886,311 out of the targeted 952,570 new households in 116 districts and 1.2 million households on the regular social cash transfer from the targeted 1.3 beneficiary households.
And she further stated that out of the targeted 726, 361 beneficiary households in the 84 districts affected by droughts, 680 to 779 received their cash transfer benefit, representing a 94% payment rate. Further, she said that 551 households on the regular social cash transfer program received a cash transfer out of the targeted 574,405 households, representing 96% payment rate.
She also informed the House that preparations for the disbursement of funds for the second payment cycle have commenced, and she further said, she further encouraged all honourable members of Parliament to work together with the Ministry and report any challenges that will be faced by beneficiaries in accessing the emergency social cash transfer as well as other social protection services delivered by government. So that was the ministerial statement rendered by the Minister of Community Development and Social Services on the progress made in the implementation of emergency cash transfer program in 84 districts affected by the drought.
The other ministerial statement came from the Minister of Energy, who talked about the electricity situation in the country, and he did report to the House and the country at large that the country's installed electricity generation capacity stands at 3,777.3 megawatts, with hydro power accounting for 85%. The peak demand is estimated at 2,400 megawatts. Currently, the country's power generation stands at 1,019 megawatts, representing a deficit of 1,381 megawatts, thus leading to long hours of load shedding. And Pauline, the minister further highlighted a number of factors that are leading to the current situation.
Yes, the minister did indicate that some of these factors included low water levels in the major reservoirs and also increased the power demand, as well as the annual maintenance works at the 300 megawatts Mamba Core plant, and also reduced the power importation as some of the factors that are leading to the current long hours of load shedding.
After highlighting those factors, the minister also did provide measures that government is putting in place to mitigate the effect of the power deficit that the country is experiencing. And under the short-term measures, the minister did say that the importation of power, on average, ZESCO is importing about 200 to 300 megawatts of power based on a 24-hour period, and is thus determined by availability of power on the sub-market and resources.
And he also included, in the short term, he included the procurement of 23 diesel generators, and also installation of solar systems in all public institutions, and also gradual withdrawal of 120 megawatts of power export by ZESCO.
He further highlighted the signing in of a memorandum of understanding between ZESCO and China Detang Overseas Investment Company Limited. He did say that as at September 4th, government signed an MOU to jointly develop and invest in photovoltaic PV projects at different locations in Zambia, the first of which shall be under Iteji 100 megawatts, in Joma 50 megawatts, and in Kasama 70 megawatts.
And the minister also did inform the House that amongst the medium-term measures that have been put in place to address the situation include the implementation of the 120 megawatt solar PV portfolio, that is implementation of the 120 PV portfolio of solar PV power projects under the Global Energy Transfer Feed-in Tariff program, which is currently underway.
In the same ministerial statement, it allowed the minister to shed more light on ZESCO's recent proposal for a tariff hike to the Energy Regulation Board, ERB. It did say that subsequent to the application, ERB, as mandated by the Energy Regulation Act number 12 of 2019 to determine, regulate and review charges and tariffs in the energy sector. During a special meeting held on 22nd August 2024, resolved to reject the application. He did say that his government has a high regard for institution entrusted with authority by this August House. Therefore, the rejection of ZESCO's application by ARB is not an end in itself, as government is actively exploring their possibilities to enable ZESCO perform its obligations.
And in conclusion, the minister did indicate to the House that through the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Energy remains committed to closely monitoring the situation and actively seeking additional interventions to address the current power deficit and make Zambia a power hub in the region.
After that ministerial statement, we did see an interest from members of parliament, because the members of parliament are equally affected, because they represent 156 constituencies, and members in those constituencies are eagerly waiting to find how government will turn round the tables and make sure that the energy sector is flourishing again. So there was an interest of making follow-up questions by seeking clarity from the Minister. Pauline, the House proceeded to consider 6 questions for oral answer, but unfortunately 1 question lapsed. The first question came from Ms. Nyerenda, Lundazi Member of Parliament, directing a question to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. The member wanted to find out whether the government has any plans to construct a modern bus station in the Lundazi Parliamentary constituency, and according to the Minister's response, says that government has plans to construct markets, shelter, ablution block and demonstration block at Lundazi with support from the German Development Bank KfW. And the other part, the member wanted to find out, if so, when the plans will be implemented. The minister did respond by saying that plans are underway and the procurement progress has been recorded, and it will commence end quarter of 2024, and the progress for the project is on course with design and BOQ all in place.
Yes, we had another question coming from Lufubu Member of Parliament, Mr. Wesley Kolala, and he directed his question to the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development, and he wanted to know whether government is aware of the mining activities at Kantobo Mine in Ngawe Chiefdom in Lufubu Parliamentary constituency, and also be part of the question, if so, what the company was awarded, if the company was awarded a license to conduct the mining activities in the area, and C, part of the question, what minerals are being extracted from the mine, and part D, why the local traditional leadership was not notified of the mining activities, and part E, what measures are being taken to ensure that the local community benefits from the mining activities. And in response to this question, the Acting Minister of Mines and Minerals Development indicated to the House that government is aware of the mining activities at Kantobo Mine in Ngawe Chiefdom in Lufubu Parliamentary constituency, and he also informed the House that a mining license was granted to Kantobo Mine, and this is mining license number A310/80/SML, and the minerals that are being extracted are copper and cobalt, and he also did inform the House that government ensured that Kankobo Mine obtained permission from the traditional leadership before they started the mining activities, and the measures that are being taken to ensure that the local community benefits. He said that this has facilitated employment for the local people, and in addition to other facilities that are being made available to the local community.
And the other question came from Chinsali Member of Parliament, Mr. Kalaloe Mukosa. He was directing his question to the Minister of Health. The member wanted to find out how many medical doctors and nurses there were in Chinsali district as of February 2024. The minister's response said that as of February 2024, 59 medical doctors and 214 nurses were in Chinsali. In B part of the question, the member wanted to find out whether the number of health personnel was adequate for the district. The minister's response did say that it wasn't adequate. And in C part, the member wanted to find out if not, what the deficit was as of February 2024. The minister's response said that 8 medical doctors and the district experienced 115 nurses as deficit.
Yes, we also had a question coming from Dundumwezi Member of Parliament, Mr. Edgar Singombe, and he wanted to find out from the Minister of Small and Medium Enterprises Development how many cooperatives in Dundumwezi Parliamentary constituency obtained loans from the Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission for the purchase of solar-powered hammer mills, and part B of the question, what the total cost of the hammer mills was. And in response, the minister informed the House that the CEC disburses funds or small loans at the district level, and in this case Dundumwezi obtained the loans at the district of Kalomo, and in total 4 cooperatives obtained loans to purchase solar powered hammer mills, and a total amount of 585,000 was the cost of the 4 hammer mills that were bought by the cooperatives.
So those are some of the questions that were considered on the floor of the House, but do remember that question 10 lapsed at the time this question came up for consideration. The member wasn't in his seat and this question lapsed. And after the consideration of those questions, the House did consider the motion, thanks the President's address, that the thanks of this Assembly be recorded for the exposition of public policy contained in the President's address. If you do remember very well, on Tuesday, the mover of this motion was Ms. Hudson Mabeta, who is Kankoyo Member of Parliament. It was seconded by Ron Member of Parliament, Mr. Joe Chibui. And so far, we've seen a number of members of Parliament debating, and my colleague Pauline will highlight some of the members that have debated this far.
We had Pemba Member of Parliament, Mr. Lamek Hamwata, who has contributed to this motion. We also had Chrysosta Halwindi, Member of Parliament for Kabwe Central, and others included Nalikwanda Member of Parliament, Konwas Munji, as well as Chama South Member of Parliament, Davison Mungando, and Victor Lumai, as well as Namwala Member of Parliament, Mr. Hebet Mono. So those are some of the members of Parliament who have added their voice to this motion that is under consideration.
Well, I'd like to say thank you so much for finding time, and also acknowledge our colleagues and friends, families who are with us on our social media platform. It could be YouTube platform and the Facebook page. That's the National Assembly of Zambia, for being with us from the time business started at 14:30 hours. On behalf of our 2 sign language interpreters, that's Chola Kaumanjeson Manda, and indeed not forgetting our director, Stan Piri. And on behalf of Pauline Monga, my name is Posen Tendovi. Join us tomorrow as we open the station at 08 hours for very interesting programming on Parliament Television. Stay safe and continue watching Parliament Television.